Hello, thanks for watching. This was my hike on the Rakiura Great Walk on Stewart Island, New Zealand. I hiked this trek over 2 days in mid-January 2024, which is the middle of summer here in the Southern Hemisphere. I drove down from Queenstown to Invercargill, which took about 2.5 hours through the beautiful farm country of the Southland region. From Invercargill, I took a flight to Oban, the main town on Stewart Island. This cost me about $122 each way, that's New Zealand dollars, which was only about $12 more than taking the ferry from Bluff, so this was an easy choice for me. The flight was about 20 minutes, and we had good views over the Fovo Strait between South Island and Stewart Island. I landed at about 4:30 p.m. I hiked 14.5 kilometers the first day and 26.5 kilometers the second day, totaling around 41.5 kilometers. This was a bit longer than the advertised 32 kilometers that the trek usually is, because I walked directly from Oban to the trailhead and from the other end of the trail back to Oban, adding on about 8 or 9 kilometers extra. There is, however, paid transport available on the island to only do the 32 kilometer section. However, I recommend walking the extra kilometers if you have time, as you get to take in more of the beautiful beaches and coastline. I chose this hike as I wanted a relatively short and simple hike to kick off 2024, and I hadn't been to Stewart Island since I was a kid, so it was nice to reacquaint myself. Following my route on all trails, you can see that the first day had a fair amount of road walking, which was fine with the great weather and views. Also, hearing and seeing Kereru and Tui along the way was a nice addition. Super peaceful. Once you reach the actual trail, it's a nice, slightly undulating track along the coast, mostly undercover from the trees and with a few potential stream crossings if the ocean tide permits. Otherwise, there are high tide routes, which I had to take. I stayed at Port William campsite, which cost me $16. You generally need to pre-book your camp spot or hut spot via the DOC website prior to hiking the trail. That's Department of Conservation. This campsite was really nice, and I was lucky enough to come across a few deer munching on grass when I arrived at about 9 PM. Sadly, I saw no kiwi, but you can usually expect to hear some pretty wild noises from animals at night on the island. The second day I set off and backtracked the trail I had walked yesterday evening to meet up with the main trail again. This day proved to be a bit more muddy and undulating, cutting across the Rakiura Peninsula. Overall, still very beautiful, quiet and serene. Lots of ferns, native trees and bird songs. I only came across a few other hikers and trail maintenance workers on this day, with the majority of them being toward the end of the trail, back towards Oban. After the inland section, you reach the coast again. Luckily, I had good weather over these couple days and had blue skies by the time I came out of the tree cover and finished the last road walking section back to town to catch my flight at 5:30 PM. Overall, this was a good hike. I picked a couple days where the weather forecast was proving to be sunny, and that played in my favour. The mud wasn't too bad, although to be honest it can get a little bit old by the end of the inland section. I would say Stewart Island definitely feels very pure. It's got an incredible amount of native wildlife and bush, which is really special to experience. It's a fairly easy hike with only a bit of undulation, and because it's one of New Zealand's great walks, it's very well maintained. Highly recommend this hike if you can find it in good weather. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on Instagram, Strava and AllTrails to follow my upcoming hikes. Bye.